The following podcast contains adult language and themes that may be unsuitable for some listeners. You've been warned.
People say I should have made it, that I could have dated models and movie stars.
Pour yourself a drink, because we're going there. Taboo topics are back on the table.
And one day I get the chance to find love and stay in my sweatpants. I'm in my sweatpants. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, I'm LeJohn.
I'm Matt.
And I'm Joe, and this is the Going There podcast.
Today we're going to talk about show business, Hollywood. We have a really special guest, but first, what would you guys say is kind of your driving ambition behind wanting to get into show business? Mine's a little bit different because I more care to be behind the scenes. You guys have more of the grueling side of it, trying to be, being actors and comedians and performers. It's tough, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to chase the dragon, trying to find that feeling, that high that I first had when I was like in the flow acting, making people laugh on stage. When I first watched I Love Lucy, I was like 6, and I was like, I want to do that, exactly that. So I guess I'm just trying to find that.
And you probably had some of those special moments that define that passion for you, right?
Yeah, like on stage at UCB, there have been shows where it's just like you have to wait because people are laughing before you can go on. That feels good. That's an ego boost for sure.
You know what? For me, it's just about comfort. There's no other place I feel as comfortable than in front of a camera. And it's always been that way for me. As long as I'm being compensated to pay my damn bills, I don't really give a damn. As long as I'm in front of a camera doing what I want to do, I'm happy. And people always counter with, nah, that's bullshit. You want to be the next Denzel, man. You want to be a superstar. And I think that any actor who says they don't want to be a star is a liar. But I've gotten to the point where I'm like, nah, man, I just love saying words in front of a camera, man. And I'm going to keep on working hard and busting my ass and everything to reach my full potential, of course. And what happens is going to happen. I always say to myself, there's a role being written right now by somebody who I don't know that's for me.
The Janitor, starring LeJohn Woods. I'm just kidding. For me, like growing up, I always wanted to be in front of the camera. And I still enjoy acting and performing, but it's not like my true passion. It was when I went and saw Jurassic Park, I think. And then I went home and I saw something on like
20. You're like, can I be a dinosaur?
Yeah. And I was like, I want to be a T-Rex. No, but I was like, I want to be a filmmaker. I wasn't idolizing the main character as much as I was like idolizing whoever the hell put this together. It's that Steven Spielberg guy, the guy who made Jaws and Indiana Jones and E.T. So I guess what it comes down to is we get to a point in our lives where we have to ask ourselves, as adults at least. As a kid, totally different story. Sky's the limit. You have to ask yourself, what am I willing to settle for to say I'm fulfilled? And for me, I'm happy paying the bills and doing cool stuff in my realm that isn't film, isn't cinema, as long as I get to play on the side too. And even this podcast, I think, kind of falls into that category. I mean, yeah, I would love to produce a blockbuster, but I won't die a unhappy man if it doesn't happen.
I'm homeless, but I'm so happy. Like as I get older, I see that to be creative and to make money, there's just you cannot be purely creative and for that to make money. And if you do, that's a fluke and you're very lucky. So if I can somehow have income in some way where I can fund things, that would be great. I have been in a lot of situations where I've been cast in things and they're like, well, it's no pay, but it's great exposure. And I think that that's a manipulative tactic that people use when they don't want to pay actors. So I'm kind of over that. I just want to make stuff and I want to be happy and I want to not be homeless.
Give me those words, give me those lines, and allow me to show you so much more than what you wrote. Allow me to show you so much more than what you thought this character could be or was going to be. Let me show you. You saw this character in 3 different ways. Let me show you 9, because I'm able to do that. I'm able to give you that. I just have that kind of passion and desire for it and just the process. And that's what was so important to me. When I fell in love with the process, well before getting in front of the camera, I said, oh, yeah, this is it. This is what I want to do.
You got to love the process, I think, as opposed to just the fame that you think that you'll get.
Yeah, and it's work.
Is
It's work.
it about fame though? You be honest.
When they try to underpay you, that's what they're trying to get you to think it's about. But of course it's not, because nobody's famous anymore, first off.
I mean, it's too easy to get famous these days.
Yeah,
So
infamous.
Yeah.
That's the thing I ask all the time. Who the hell would want to be famous?
Nah, exactly.
As an actor, as a non-union actor, the appeal to being famous is probably not the fame so much as the respect that maybe I'll get because I'm famous, because I get so disrespected by casting directors and by producers and just by people just not paying you what you're worth or at all.
I would much rather my name carry some weight than my face. People who see you in public have no fucking idea who you are, but they're like, oh, that's a Matt Pilata product. Like, oh man, that guy's good.
Yeah, my face carries weight, but it's because I'm bloated.
I teed that one up. Hashtag fat face.
Hashtag fat face.
So here to talk a little bit about his experiences in Hollywood. Somebody who didn't even want to be an actor, who didn't want to be famous. He just couldn't find anything he enjoyed. You may remember him as Mr. Heckles from Friends. You might remember him as the guy who played Kramer inside the show of Seinfeld. You might remember him from Escape from Alcatraz, or maybe even Breaking Bad. Mr. Larry Hankin, the man, the myth, the legend, the podcaster. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay, I can't even follow that. Thank you.
To prepare for today's episode, Joe and I and Lindsay last night rewatched Escape from Alcatraz, where you were Charlie Butts.
Charlie Butts, yeah, it's a great movie. It really is.
It really, and part of it is because Larry Hankin's in it. That's what makes it so damn good.
Well, I got to tell you, it's one of my favorite roles, even though it was one of my early roles. I guess I was there so long. I was on there for like 3 months on the island, not during the nighttime, but every day. So I guess I was there so long that any kind of awe about who I was working with, which is Clint Eastwood and Don Siegel, they're both like, no, see, that's legend, man. Don Siegel is a legend. And so I was on this for so long that it kind of wore off my awe. So I got to be relaxed. I don't know if I've ever been that relaxed in front of a camera. That was my takeaway from it. So that's why I like it.
Relaxed in a prison setting. That's a bold statement.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's a feat.
Yeah.
You and I had a conversation beforehand and kind of talking about essentially the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's a Clint Eastwood film, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to show business, to Hollywood.
Oh, that, yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it's okay. Look, I'm not an actor. I'm a stand-up social anthropologist, is what I really am. I mean, I did stand-up for years. I was very successful at it, and I just lucked into getting into movies. I never wanted to be an actor. I never dreamed about it or anything like that. I want to be just a funny guy. That's all, so stand-up. But so there's two things. One is the great joy of being an actor is being in front of the camera and doing your thing. But the dance you have to go through to get in front of that lens takes sometimes months, man, but weeks at least. You're not getting paid. I mean, you're learning lines. You're going to auditions. Sometimes you audition 3 times. For Seinfeld, I auditioned 5 times. And that weighs on you if you want the part. You're thinking about it. Well, can I do better? I mean, what I watched, I guess, a sitcom or another movie that I was in. I've never done it with Alcatraz, but I could do it with that. And that is, I timed how much time I was on the screen in the movie that was released. I timed just that. And probably I was on screen in that movie for maybe 3 minutes, maybe. That's really extended. But the time that it took me to get in front of that camera, to get those 3 minutes was like a month of just auditioning and rehearsing and learning. And that's not fun at all. That's a job, man.
I always equate it to like I'm a former athlete and I used to run track, and I was a sprinter, so therefore I would run like 100-meter dash, and I would sit. One day I said to myself, let me get this straight. I'm training hours, days for a race that's going to last 11 seconds.
There you go.
Yo, just buy a car.
I mean, exactly, man. So I mathematically worked out how much money I got for that 3 minutes. Now, probably I got maybe, I don't know, anywhere from $1,500 to $5,000 to do a sitcom, depending on if you're, an extra, if you're this, you're that. If you're a star, it's even more. But so that's the framing. Sometimes $1,500 to $5,000 because I was a beginner and stuff. So, but my time on screen, I was getting like maybe $1,000 a second or something like that. It was like ridiculous. In other words, for the salary I was getting for the time on screen. For Breaking Bad in the Winnebago scene.
Yes.
Where I was going to crush the Winnebago and they were trapped inside the Winnebago and I was talking to the cop. Okay, that scene, I did time that scene. I was in that scene actually for 10 seconds or less. So the amount of money that I got for that 10 seconds, came to be like $1 million a second or something. Yeah. I mean, something ridiculous. And like I say, for 11-second run, you put in all that time and energy.
So people from the outside think that it's such a cush job, but all of the work that you have to put in to get those 10 seconds is like 10 months.
Yeah, is not worth it to me. Now I've watched actors who I think are worth their price in gold. I mean, so it's me. It's not the industry, because people love doing that. I love being funny, stand-up comedy, or making my own little films, that I like, and then I can put in all the time I want, because I like doing it. But it's not acting. It's my thing. It comes out of my head. So there's declinations of show business and which section you're in and what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Going back a little bit into your personal story, you were telling me a little bit about...
Oh, we're going to get personal now?
Yeah. Now we're getting personal.
Now is when we share our social security numbers. Yeah. You go first.
So you went to college and you kind of did what you thought that you owed to your parents.
Exactly. Yeah, did some research, yeah.
And then, from there, it was kind of like you didn't want to be an actor. You almost fell into acting.
I did. I mean, there's nowhere around it. I mean, I graduated as industrial design, and that was okay. I paid my dues to my parents. Now I was going to do what I wanted to do. General Motors offered me a huge amount of money to design cars of the future when I graduated. So I was going to go to Detroit. My best friend in college was Carl Gottlieb, who wrote Jaws and other movies. And he said, let's go to Greenwich Village, because he wanted to be a writer, and he got a job reviewing movies for this very small paper. But he wanted to be a writer, so that was where he wanted to go. So he said, why don't you come with me? We'll go to Greenwich Village, and we'll get an apartment together, and you can find out what you want to do there. He didn't really care what I did. He just wanted somebody to pay half the rent. I wasn't interested in industrial design either. I mean, I was like an A student. I mean, I guess when I get into something, I do it. If you put it in front of me, then that's what I concentrate on.
Welcome to the podcast.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So, but when I graduated, Carl Gottlieb sounded like a great offer. I went with Carl, and I starved, and he was stealing food to feed me. But I was doing open mic nights. It's really funny how he was doing that. He would go to these review movies. And the thing back then in the 60s, if you were in a local paper or you were at the New York Times, you all went to the same preview to review the same movie. What they do is they give you liquor, and they give you food, to
That's all
kind
that's
of
needed.
I guess I do like this movie now that I'm looking at it.
exactly. And week after week, it was always the same thing. It was no matter what studio or whatever, what movie, it was wine and an open bar, and cocktail shrimp in these big bowls. So what he would do is he would take a real napkin, take a handful of shrimp, put it in a napkin, and then put it in his pocket, and he would take it home to me, and that would be my dinner. And because I was doing open mic nights, I was trying to be a comedian. I really wanted to be a comedian.
So he's watching you eat that shrimp and was like, Jaws.
We're going to need a bigger boat for this shrimp.
Everybody makes that connection. I never did. It never occurred to me. But yeah, I don't know. It was a fate. But one day he came home and he said, okay, this is the last one, man. I'm not doing this anymore. And I go, why, man? Because my suit, this is the only suit I have, and it's smelling of fish.
Did he try washing it?
Well, it was one of those, he only had one suit, but it was expensive.
Oh.
But I mean, we were living on the margin, both, because he was paying sometimes 2 rents, my half and his half.
What's crazy is as you're telling the story, and I'm thinking, okay, I was waiting to see if you and Carl simultaneously got something. But doesn't it seem like there's so many stories where this celebrity or this well-known person for something was college roommates with or lived with somebody, and it just...
Yeah, Apatow and all his crowd. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's like you just happened to be roommates with the dude who wrote Jaws, and that's crazy. And it just seems like talent is always surrounded by talent, whether by accident
and other
or...
people have lived with me and become, actors.
We're trying to ask if we can move in this weekend.
Yeah, I am looking for a place.
Well, I've noticed that too, and you're right. It does. It is kind of weird, and I've tried to figure that out because it's common, especially when you're living and working with other, famous people or semi-famous people, and you go, "Oh, you were roommates with Apatow," like blah blah blah.
Because I'm looking at your couch right now behind you, like I want that.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Because show business is worldwide, it's assumed that everything is worldwide within show business. No, it's a little town. Hollywood is like a little village of famous people, and they all congregate together and they know one another because they're weird on the outside. I mean, you are. I'm weird on, if I go to some, like India, I'm famous in India. Why? Because I'm in Friends. Friends is an amazingly huge, mega hit in India, and I'm on it. So now, if I go to India, I'll probably, I'm guessing, I'll be swarmed. But that doesn't make me feel cool. It makes me feel threatened and weird. So I tend to hang around with other actors, and musicians. I love musicians. They're cool.
Yeah, musicians are actors' best friends. A lot of people don't know that. Yes.
Well, I think because musicians want to be actors and actors want to be musicians.
This is true.
I hear that all the time,
Speaking of musicians and actors being drawn to each other, we have a great musician to highlight in this episode. His name is Julian Velard. He's a singer, songwriter, and composer, and he also does some comedy. So much like Joe and Larry here, he's a fixture in both the comedy and the music scenes. He actually has a cult following in the UK and the Netherlands. He's toured as an opening act for Jamie Cullum, Goldfrapp, and he's performed with comedians like Will Ferrell and Jack McBrayer and Paul Scheer. And he also wrote a song that was featured as the theme song. You're going to like this, Joe. The theme song for Aldi supermarkets called Everyday Amazing. He's writing musicals, performing. He's done Howard Stern. This guy has way too much going on, so check him out.
Busy, man. I like that.
I thought I'd be young forever. Can't believe I'm 40 years old. My life should have been a big hit, but not enough tickets were sold. I was searching for something great, but the trail's gone cold. Had the world in my hands, but it was just too hard to hold. Manhattan was mine for the taking. rock and roll star in the making, not a family man living in Queens. Still singing my songs in bars, but I'm running out of steam. So much has changed, but I still have the same dream. There's no growing old in New York.
This is considered our Hollywood episode. And when you're talking about Hollywood, you're talking about looking good, feeling good. That means eating and taking care of your body. So now it's time to talk about our snacks, sips, and sweets for this episode, Fressh Prep LLC. What they do is they put awesome meals together that coincide with your workout plan, and they're also trainers, physical trainers and personal trainers, and they do it up with the food, with their workout regimens. I mean, my goodness, Dewan Whitner and Joanelle Franklin together, you should see these two like chocolate rocks. They are seriously fit. I've known Joanelle Franklin for a long time, and she is committed, absolutely committed. Just had a chance to get acquainted with Dewan Whitner, and this man is all about it. His passion is to put you in a position to do more, be more, and reach your full potential with your food intake and with your body. And these guys are really putting it together. Their mission is to serve, educate, and feed the community with fresh, quality produce, meats, and fruits. Fressh Prep LLC is committed to serving fresh quality food to people of all ages, from young children to older adults, while including dietary restrictions when needed. So when they say we at Fressh Prep guarantee results and ensure great customer service. And in regards to their personal training, I love this. Eat clean, train dirty, because they lead by example. And I am a true supporter of this and their cause. And can we talk about the food?
Unfortunately, during COVID, I've gotten really accustomed to eating crap, and especially like ordering out a lot. You would have thought that this, he had just made this for me right here at the table, because the chicken was delicious. Everything was fantastic.
It fell off the bone. I had the cauliflower mash. It was delicious. And half a sweet potato with the rotisserie chicken. It didn't taste like health food. It was healthy. It tasted clean, but it also tasted delicious. And I'll eat as much of this as I can to turn into a chocolate rock.
Oh, my God. Like, honestly, it's one thing when they can do it and it's in shakes and it's gross. This was freaking good.
Yes.
Yo.
And it was filling. And it didn't seem like that much, but I'm like, holy shit, I just eat probably the healthiest meal I've had in months.
Seriously. I had the salmon with the mashed potatoes, the red mashed potatoes. Oh, my goodness. And the black beans. This is where it's at, folks. And again, I truly believe in what they're doing, and they will help you transform your food intake and your body. You want to get your sexy on, they can help you do that and get your full on.
Yeah,
right?
I'm already feeling trimmer.
Yeah, the food was awesome, and definitely check them out. We will put some tags at the end of the episode here as well as online. But for right now, we're talking with Larry Hankin, our veteran actor and Oscar nominee. Larry, you were saying that you and Carl Gottlieb, the writer of Jaws, were living together after college, and you guys were barely scraping by while you were personally trying your hand at stand-up comedy.
So we just, it was kind of dicey for a while. But then I started doing well, and then I was opening for, Woody Allen and Miles Davis and Kingston Trio and the Playboy circuit. And I was doing really cool.
Oh, yes.
And then I started to get into critical thinking comedy. Starting into Richard Pryor and Lenny Bruce territory and George Carlin. But yeah, I was getting into critical thinking where people would come at me with beer bottles upside down in their fists saying, "Get the fuck off the stage." So I would get the fuck off the stage. I mean, this and then the cops started pulling me off the stage. So,
You said the cops started pulling you off the stage?
oh yeah, like phalanxes. Like I had 20 cops pull me off the stage in Washington University in St. Louis.
Why?
I was doing my act. I was opening for the Love and Spoonful, so it was an arena, big. And I thought, it's a college crowd, so I used my best stuff.
Yeah.
So I was going along fine, the clean stuff, the ordinary stuff, and then you get, better and better, and then the big laughs at the end. So I was getting into that, and then I had this little thing where I had this microphone, stand-up microphone, and I would take this. I would say, okay, now we're going to talk about religion, and all of a sudden it's quiet, and I said, okay, so I'm God, and here's a little. Okay, I made a little man. How you doing? And I put him on the top of the microphone, and I go, okay, so you don't have any clothes on. That's really weird, I guess. Well, that's what I did. And what's that between your legs there? And all of a sudden, man, they started, boo, boo, we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that?
Wow.
But I ignored them, so I kept on going into the bit, which, was like a little more risque and a little more risque, and then it got dirty. It was the early 60s. It didn't matter. You were either clean or, as I was called, a filthy, dirty-mouthed comedian.
But still, the college crowd, you would think that the college crowd would be all about that.
I yelled back at them.
Yeah. Why don't you like this?
I said, I go, so I stopped but what they were doing was, it was an arena, it was an auditorium. They were pulling those wooden armrests off the seats. If you push them forward, they come off, like that. They were throwing them at me.
Whoa.
Not bottles, but these wooden armrests. They were throwing them, and I'm dodging. And so I go, okay, I'll stop. So they stop. So I said, okay, I'll stop. And I go, what's going on here? This is a college crowd. I thought, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. What the hell's wrong with you people? And they shut up. They stopped booing. They stopped throwing. And, okay, you're quiet. Fine. Thank you. And then I went on with the bit. So now they were out of these armrests because only the first or second row, it was too far for the third and the fourth row to
Right,
throw.
the educated crowd doesn't have a good arm.
So then when I got a really big laugh on something, I said, okay, so now, so what the hell is between your legs? Berserk. And then, out of nowhere, I had gotten just those words out of my mouth, and they go, boo, 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 boo. I see a literal phalanx of 10 cops on each wall aisle march down. The dean had called the cops the first time I had done it. So I was 10 minutes into clean stuff, and the cops had showed up, and they were waiting back there for me to, like this, what cops do, stand there like this in the back. And they were waiting for me to get dirty. And when I did, boom, they started marching down up on the stage. And that is what I would call falling into acting. I called my agent, and I go, hey, man, I can't. They're coming at me with beer bottles, man. Now I got cops, and that wasn't the first time with cops, but that was the first time I had 20. So I said, I can't do this anymore. And he said, well, why don't you join Second City? They're doing Lenny stuff and Carlin stuff and Pryor stuff, but they own the theater. So join Second City. So that's what I did.
So getting into the audition aspect, and LeJohn and Joe can talk a little bit to this as well. I'm usually on the other side of the audition, as the producer. Yeah. But it, you said something to me on the phone the other day, Larry, which was essentially it's a demeaning process. In the fact that it's almost like a beauty pageant. They walk you around, they make you do a couple of twirls. Show us what skills or talents you have, and then
every once in a while, that's not the case, but it's rare. The famous big hitter directors and producers, they're cool. I'll audition for them any day because they're human beings. It's like I auditioned for John Huston. I'll audition for that guy forever, even if I never get the part. I'll still go. He's a great guy. You just want to be around him. He's, hi, Larry, how you doing? You want to do this part? You have to get a haircut. Is Annie.
The cops are coming.
Yeah. We took all the armrests off all the chairs in the room. You're in good shape.
Oh, and then he goes and he sticks up for you. That's the other thing that great directors do. Some of the casting director got behind me when I was walking into he was on set. She got behind me and she put her hands on the shoulders and she was steering me from behind in front of him. And he goes, and he was just, this kind old gentleman with white hair, and he goes, "What are you doing?" He's like incredulous. He goes, "What are you doing?" And she says, "Well, I'm placing him in front of you so you can see him better." And he goes, "Don't touch my actors." So I thought, wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really great. And then later on, when he said no, and he was talking to me just like a person, like, "Hey, Larry, you're going to have to get a haircut for this. Do you mind getting a haircut?" Because I was a hippie and I had my hair down to here. So he said, "Do you mind getting a haircut?" And she gets behind me and she takes my hair and she, pulls it up like a ponytail to get it out of the way. And he goes, "Now what are you doing?" She says, "I'm taking his hair away from his face so you can tell what he looks like with a haircut." And he says, "I'm a director. I have imagination. Don't touch my actors." I mean, that's I want to work for this guy. This guy's cool. Other than that, it's a demeaning process, is the point to that story.
When I first talked to you, one of the things that I had mentioned to you was, it's funny because the outside looking in, a lot of people think of you, and I'm sure you get it all the time. They put you in a box. It's like, "Oh, you're Mr. Heckles," or "Oh, you're
exactly.
this guy or this guy." But at the same time, they don't realize all of the hours and days and months and years of work that it takes to
You left out bullshit.
and bullshit. Well, I'm going to let you add in the bullshit.
Okay. Thank you.
That it takes to even get there. And so you said, I don't know if you want to reshare this, but you had mentioned like you had kind of like three tips or three pieces of advice you'd give to upcoming actors or people who wanted to make it in the business.
Oh, that. Well, I think I know what you're talking about. Number one, if you want to be an actor, forget it. Okay. Two, if you do want to be an actor, you've been warned. Three, if you want to be an actor, start your own production company.
Yeah. Create your own table.
You left one small part out of number one, which was forget it. And also, we have enough of you out here. We're good.
Yeah, well, those are not saying. Thank you. But yes, that was part of it.
No, but it's true because, LeJohn and Joe, you guys are actors, and it's not that you have these, pie in the sky dreams. You're realistic about it. But a lot of people are like, they only see it for the after party or the big screen debuts. They don't think about the bullshit.
No. Well, not only
to quote Larry, the bullshit that goes into it.
Yeah, and I gotta admit one thing against myself. I am a dyslexic, so I have dyslexia. So a lot of time, because of dyslexia, I misunderstand what's going on. Because dyslexia, in my mind anyway, dyslexia is different for different people. It has different effects on your brain. But in my mind, I don't misunderstand. I understand kind of too well. In other words, if you tell me something, I have two interpretations of what you're telling me to do. And I have a 50-50 shot at getting it right.
That's better than most.
Yeah. But in my case, when you're in the middle of a movie and you get it wrong, there are ramifications. People get pissed off. They short fuses. So that adds to my not liking or saying that making movies is bullshit, because I misunderstand a lot of things, so I get blowback. Boo, get off the stage. I don't know why. This is sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
I think the other thing that is kind of the demeaning part of it too is, I guess less so for successful actors like yourself, but constant rejection. How much rejection can one person take? And it's not like you're rejecting me as a salesperson. You don't want to buy this car or whatever. It is, you're rejecting me.
Me.
Yeah.
You have to. I had to make an adjustment a priori to all the rejection. You have to have a thick skin. Look, when I was I already had a thick skin. I was a stand-up comedian. You get booed in the beginning. What do you think? I just came out, Carl, let's go to Greenwich Village, got up on the stage and opened for Woody Allen. I mean, being funny among your friends or with you guys and girls is different than getting on a stage and getting paid and having, people paying a cover and a minimum. Hey, that ain't the same, but I thought it was the same. Yeah, hey, man, I make my friends laugh, so I'm funny.
So speaking about rejection, is there any rejection in the acting and auditioning world that sticks out to you? Is there anything where somebody said something that maybe cut you a little bit deeper than you had thought, or you're like, what the hell?
It only happened once. And so that's why I remember it, long, long time ago when I was in the beginning. But I auditioned for a serious part. It was a part for some sort of injured person. I think sometimes a brain damage or something. I don't know. But anyway, I just went full out brain damage on them. And they just stood, I could see them, and they were just, whoa.
When method.
Yeah. I mean, they were just, I don't know about this. And when I finished, they said, well, thank you. And they were just like, so you can tell it was like a bad set of comedy where, silence for the whole thing. And then you get off the stage and nobody even would clap. You killed it for the next act.
That's what you did.
So I stopped being method after that.
So we still want to talk about the good, and we've covered some of it. What are some of the most memorable experiences? You talk about working with John Huston. What were some other memorable experiences you've had in the good part of it?
Well, let me see. Working with great directors who are, at least I thought, working with Clint Eastwood and Don Siegel was just the whole thing, because great directors, among other things, I don't even think they really know this, but they're teachers. And I don't think they're trying to teach you something, but that's how it comes out. I learned stuff from great directors, just how to comport myself, how to act, how, like for instance, Don Siegel, the same attitude that John Huston had. He would talk to me like a person, like he was a person and I was a person, and we're just hanging out together. And he would do that with everybody. That they're human beings, but they're also great teachers. And I would always stand next to him, see how to direct and where he putting the camera. And then I would go like one day I say, why you? I don't understand why you're putting the camera here. The action is. I don't think you're getting the action. Why are you putting it here? And he says, I don't know, I'll probably get fired. I was playing cards with the crew because I wasn't up for 2 hours. There's somebody behind me. So I look behind and it's Don Siegel, and he's standing there very stern. And he's saying, what are you doing, Larry? You got a scene today. I said, yeah, but it's not for 2 hours. It's an important scene. You know that, don't you? Well, I don't know. Yeah, you got to cry in that scene. It's my crying scene. It's right before they go over. They escape. It's and we're all.
Spoiler alert!
Right.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we didn't escape. He says, it's an important scene. You got to be crying in that scene. You know that, don't you? Oh no, I didn't know I had to cry. Yeah, you got to cry in that scene. Well, I mean, can you cry? I don't know. I think you should know if you could cry or not. I need you to cry in that scene. Now, the crew is like sitting there with that, oh my God, what's going on here? And he says, and I said, well, I don't know. He says, look, Larry. And he says, you got 2 hours. Now, if you can't cry, what I would suggest you do is you go into your dressing room and slap yourself around until you can cry, because I need you to cry. Okay? I don't know how to do that. So I'm trying to, it's not coming. I'm slapping myself. Boom, boom, nothing. So I finally figured out how to do it. And I figured out I got an out. So I go looking for Don Siegel. Where's Don Siegel? Where's Don Siegel? There he is. Oh, Don, can I talk to you for a second? Oh, yeah, fine. What is it? And he takes me aside. Cool. I said, what is it? He goes, look, I did a backstory for Charlie Butts. And one of the things I figured out, Charlie Butts in this scene wouldn't cry. He's not that type of guy. And he says, Carol, would you tell me what the fuck he's talking about? And he looks at me, he says, look, Larry, we got a scene here. We got a movie here. I got a movie here, and it's just all testosterone. It's 200 guys in Alcatraz. All they want to do is kill people or fight or get the hell out of there. It's a testosterone movie. I need some other emotion besides anger. You're going to cry in that scene because I need some other emotion. You got that? I go, yeah. He says, okay, thank you. So I'm trying to slap myself. I'm trying everything. 2 hours are up. AD comes and says, you're up. I go, oh, all right, fine. I'm going to be fired. That's my go-to mode. I'm going to be fired. I get zen. And now it's just a dance until I get to be fired. So I'm in other words, I've calmed myself out. I am now already fired. I just have to go walk through it. And I go to the set and he sets me up and he says, this is going to be a close-up, Larry. This is going to be really good. He says, you ready, Larry? I go, yeah, I'm ready. Because I've been fired, so I'm cool. It's all good. Yeah. He says, okay, and action, Larry. And I'm going, it's not happening. Yes. Like, cut. All right, Harry, bring it in. A crew guy, big crew guy comes in with a perfume bottle. He just sticks it in between me and the camera, and he goes, and tears start falling down my face. And Don goes, roll it. Cut. Larry, that was magnificent.
Are you kidding me?
And I go up to Harry and what the hell is in that bottle? He says, it's wintergreen. We do it all the time. It makes actors cry.
Wintergreen.
Don Siegel knew at the card table what was going to happen.
And you said the best directors to you were like teachers, but I think it's also because you may have had your antennas up as a student, because it sounds like part of your passion was always to maybe be a director as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think the directors knew that. At least Don Siegel knew that. I mean, I was always standing next to him. I was always asking him questions. It was kind of obvious, hey, how do you do that? Or why this, but I mean, that to me, that makes him great. It's just, and also he made a great movie. I mean, if the movie was a flop, I don't know if I'd be talking like this.
Like, fuck that guy. I could have been playing cards.
Right.
But on the set, he was, both of them. I mean, John Hughes in another way was a genius director, but he was the opposite. He was awful. I mean, not awful. He was hard to communicate with. He's very close. He's very close. But again, he was a teacher. I mean, when he did say something, it was important. I mean, it was something you could take to heart.
It seems like a lot of the people who are like at the top of their game are respectful to other people and their time. And then the people who are kind of like in the middle and like want to think that they're at the top, like to try to like shit on the people at the bottom.
Right.
And that's kind of where I feel like the dehumanizing aspect.
Yeah, I don't know the reason for it, but I know it breaks down that way.
Yeah.
What about some of your other good roles? Did you enjoy doing any of the TV stints like Friends or Seinfeld or Breaking Bad?
I enjoyed doing them because they were easy. I didn't have many lines to memorize. The dyslexia interrupts my ability to learn lines. I've always learned the lines, but it takes me years, man. I mean, like really a long time to memorize lines. But in sitcoms, I always had very small lines, because it's just back and forth. There is no long speeches and soliloquies in sitcoms.
Did like working with Second City and doing improv help you with that stuff?
No, they wouldn't let me improvise. In the beginning, after you get some chops and you're well known, now I can make changes. I can say,
okay.
Can I say this instead of that? But in the beginning, no, I would go up and say, can I say this or can I improvise? No, what are you kidding? I mean, it was like I was cursing or something.
We're an improv theater. We only do scripts.
Yeah, you're like, I think my character would do this set about a mic and a little guy with a dick. I think Mr. Heckles would do that. Come on.
No. I mean, you picked out the right show.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, I was persona non grata on Friends. I mean, my character was loved by all, but nobody liked Larry Hankin. Whoa, man, I was a troublemaker there. I just didn't. I just wouldn't fit in.
I heard you were really pissed off when you found that they were killing him off.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons. But in other words, I had an attitude. I still do, but I'm able to control it a little better. But back then, I had an attitude. Period. And so it was all through the shoot. You know, I did 5 shows. I guess they were just fed up with me, and I sensed it. They said, "This is your last show, Larry." And I said, "What do you mean? Why?" They said, "Well, the script they're writing, yeah, you die in it." Because then Chandler took over my apartment. So when I heard that I was going to die in this show, I really hollered at the producers in front of 140 people.
Larry, how could you?
Which is a no-no. You shouldn't do that. After I finished hollering, "Why did you kill my character? What the hell is going on?"
Wait, are you in costume at this point too? Are you wearing like the dirty bathrobe and stuff?
No, I didn't know this coming in onto the lot and parking my car and going to what I thought was the set. And when I went to the set, there was nobody there. And I said, "What happened?" You know, they said, "No, they're having an opening season party upstairs before they rehearse." So when I went upstairs, there was about 20 of them in this big room, and everybody was standing around, and they had the guests from other shows and producers from other shows, and it was an opening of this new season. And I walked in, and everybody was there. I was kind of 5 minutes late, so everybody had gone to eat the food, and they had the drinks in their hands.
Larry's in the corner balling up cocktail shrimp in a napkin, shoving it in his pockets.
So I walked over to the producers. I saw them. They were all at one table together. So I thought, I can nail them. So I just walked up to them, and they were very, "Oh, hi, Larry, new season." And I go, "What the hell did you do? What are you talking about? You killed my character. Why did you do that?" And I just go in full blast. And one of the female producers, and she just said, just like that, she goes, "Larry, can we talk about this a little later?" And it just brought me right down. It just snapped me into reality. And I realized, what did I just do? And I look around, and the room is quiet. Everybody's just looking at us. Excuse me. And I walk to the craft table. And as I'm walking to the craft services table, everybody at the craft services table just split. So I'm just standing there going, now what do I do, man? Now, this is crazy. I just went nuts. I just lost it. I'm thinking, what should I do? And this kid, about 15, maybe the son of one of the producers or one of the actors or something like that, he walks up to me, the brave one. He walks up to me and he goes, "Dude, that was so cool." Now they're doing a reunion, and they just called me and they said they wanted me there. So I guess I've been forgiven.
Oh, you gotta make that happen.
Oh yeah.
Well, you can be the ghost of Mr. Heckles or something.
Yeah.
I gotta ask a selfish question. A selfish question and comment here, because, and I hate to go back to Alcatraz and everything. It was my biggest brother, his favorite movie growing up. He showed it to me all the time when I was like, I swear to God, like 6, 7, 8 years old and going up and everything. So
I'm too young to see this.
Now, I got to ask you, Larry, in your personal opinion, do you think those guys, because I know there was like a letter that was found or something like that in 2013, but Frank Morris and everybody else, do you think those guys ever made it?
No.
No?
That was the only thing that was being discussed on the set for 3 months.
Yeah, I bet.
Every day somebody would have another theory. But because we were there for 3 months, we collected a lot of information.
Yeah.
And it all pointed to the fact that there was no way. The biggest one, that if they went at the time that they were supposed to go, which they did, they would have been swept out to sea. That current is real strong under the bridge. And so if you launch during that outgoing tide, you're just going to go. 2, a freighter was going outbound at that time. And on the way out, they saw a body floating in the water with a blue shirt on. It wasn't recovered because they couldn't stop. But they said they saw a body in the water, a blue shirt. That's what they were wearing, a blue shirt. On a beach, they found the raft exploded. So the glue didn't hold on the raft that they built.
Unreal.
So, Larry, you and I talked a little bit about now you're at a point in your career, as you say, where you're finally getting to do the things you want to do, the things you're passionate about, which is writing and producing and telling your own stories. And
I started writing a screenplay a year and a half ago. So I was writing before COVID hit, but I was sequestered because I was writing. You know, I'm an instant gratification kind of person. I want to finish it. So I'll stay there until, you know, so I would just be going out for food, or, you know, if a friend called, I would meet him for coffee just for a second because I got to get back and write. So I wanted to finish it. But it started to get into the sequestered because of COVID. And I was thinking, wow, this works out great. Now I don't have to explain why I'm only at home, you know, writing. It helps me just stay here. Great. And then I finished that one, and it was still COVID. So I started another one because I was being sequestered. And I just finished that 2 weeks ago. So I'm fresh, you know, just coming out of, you know, this writing binge of a year and a half.
You said you were maybe getting back into stand-up a little bit?
Well, that's what I want to do, but there's no stages open now.
Right.
You know, even the real heavy hitter stand-ups are not working now. You know, they're all doing HBO specials. Well, by phone. I don't know how to do HBO specials for comedy. It's an audience full of people without masks. The guy on stage is not. I don't know how they do that. I got gray hair. I'm paranoid.
It's crazy outside.
Yeah, seriously.
You were mentioning a project where maybe compiling like some audio together to.
I know what I'm doing is, you know, like the show business stories that I kind of told you guys. You know, I have a whole career, 182 shows where bizarre things happen because of me, because of the dyslexia, because of the director, because of the part, because of whatever's going on. I have these stories, so I've been recording them an hour a week for the last 3 months. I record them with this recording studio in New Jersey. So we have now about 8 hours of show business stories. Now they're getting into my childhood and stuff like that, and how I got into show business.
Are you sure this isn't therapy? Because it sounds a lot like therapy. Are you laying down on a couch when they ask you questions about your childhood?
That's exactly what it is. You're exactly right.
Oh, shit.
That is my picture of what I'm doing. It's a cheap way of monetizing what's inside my head.
Well, and the stories are so cool because it'd be one thing if you'd only been doing this for, let's say, the last decade. I mean, you've been in the business for so long, and you've worked with some of these guys who aren't around anymore, like Don Siegel. You've worked with some really high-profile guys, some really talented people, which is awesome.
You've worked with and screamed at the best of them in Hollywood.
Well, like you said, you're famous worldwide because of Friends. Do you know how many people learned English by watching Friends? I've talked about it on this podcast before.
Why?
Yes.
You know, no, I'm serious. They learn from Friends. Yeah.
That's why when an Indian telemarketer calls you, they're like, could you be any more disrespectful?
Yeah, I get a lot of requests from people from India in Cameo. It's only females who are between 12 and 18, and then from 30 to 50. And females, only females, rarely, maybe 1% are males. The only males who do it are my girlfriend loves Friends. Would you send her a? But the reason is because of those two things is the young girls and then their mothers who watch the original release are watching it with their daughters.
Oh.
But it only revolves around females, the reason for the cameo.
Before we wrap it up here, I do have to make a confession. My favorite character of yours, and I don't know why, was Billy Madison. I freaking loved you as Carl.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
When you impersonate the other guy and his laugh and like the weasel laugh.
See, now that's why I went, oh, Jesus. I hate that laugh. I was coerced into that laugh.
I assume that.
And when I did it, I hated myself. I used to do that in high school. In high school. I've never done it since then. And Adam Sandler came up to me in the middle of that shoot. And he said, hey, I heard you do this funny laugh. And I said, oh, yeah, I did that in high school. I don't do that anymore. I hate it. It's stupid. And he said, do it for me. If I do it for you right now, will you just leave me alone and let me get back to my lunch? Because I was sitting at another table. I said, okay, I'll do it. So I did it. And he goes, yeah. And then the people at the table laughed. And he laughed. And he said, yeah, see, that's funny. I told you it was funny. I said, I don't care. I hate it. And I just left. Okay, that afternoon, we shot that scene. And in the middle of the scene, on the first take, out of nowhere, while we're doing the scene and the camera is rolling, he turned to me and he goes, hey, Larry, why don't you do that laugh for my girlfriend here? And me being a 10-year improviser in Second City in the committee, it just snapped into my head, do the laugh. And I just did it on camera, just instinctively. And I hated myself. And the scene went on. And then Adam said, cut. And then he walked away and he said, moving on. Let's get out of
God
here.
damn it, Adam.
So I was nailed, and I hated that scene. I can't watch the movie. I just can't. It's just me. It has nothing to do with...
No, trust me.
They come up to me, hey, do that laugh. When I sign autographs and stuff? Hey, do that laugh. Do that laugh. Sorry, doctor's orders. Can't do it.
Ever since I took an armrest to the neck back in the 60s, can't do that shit anymore. Larry, thanks so much for joining us today and sharing your stories.
Thank you, guys and girls. No, there you go.
Yeah.
Do you have any last, thoughts? Anybody who's passionate, artistic, creative, what do you suggest?
Don't listen to anybody. Do it.
Sir, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. You guys are great.
We
was a
love
pleasure.
you. I'm going to go home and watch Billy Madison over and over on rerun, but
But we'll dub it over with a good laugh that you're proud of.
Well, we use my laugh.
So Larry's talking about essentially, it's like I did all these things that I think a lot of actors would go, holy shit, that's my dream. And he's going, I don't want to do this. As he told me before, he's like, it just interested me. I'm curious, so I would think, I wonder what this guy's going to say, or I wonder what this experience might be like. And it's so funny because, like I said, people are looking at him, I'm sure, going, oh my God, I would give my left arm to be in your position. I guess it's all about context and something that, LeJohn, you're really good at and I am horrible at, which is appreciating what you got while you've got it.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's so important, man, to be able to live in that moment and understanding that, you know what, this is pretty good where it's at. And I gotta put myself in a mental space that, man, it could, the alternatives, I guess, the thinking about the alternatives of where you are and what you're doing and what you could be doing otherwise.
You have to be able to bring something you love into your work that you're paid for, I think, in order to stay sane. Either that or smoke a lot of really good stuff. Speaking of smoking good stuff, Joe.
What's up?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. So you get these casting notices that are like non-union, not that great, but one of them was like $50 to go to this place in Williamsburg and just act out a couple things on camera. And so I do it, and it wasn't porn. It's all fine, right? I'm just like, do some funny stuff. And they were like, oh, pretend you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay, now pretend that you're giving yourself, you work for yourself and you are giving yourself an evaluation, like this, that, and the other. So I do those things. They're like, great, thanks so much, $50. Okay. Then like a year later, I walk into an audition and these people are like, oh my goodness, you're the Arnold Schwarzenegger girl. Oh my goodness. Oh. And then they bring people in the office. They're like, you are famous in our office. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, Joe, we love you. You are a big deal in our office. You wrote our international ad campaign for Avon. I'm like, what? What? And then they show me this video of me doing all this stuff when I got like $50 for it. And I was like, oh, cool. Thinking, I fucking wrote their ad campaign, and I got $50. And I was like, well, could I have the video maybe for, my reel? Like, oh, well, it's internal. Okay, cool. All right. And then I do this audition, and then later they put me on the short list for it. And then they're like, oh, we cast someone else.
Yeah. You've been replaced by Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I'm like, God damn it. Yeah, so that felt like I was exploited a little bit, and I made a mistake. But I needed that $50 at the time, too.
Okay, so for the people who aren't in this business, and especially who aren't actors. For example, I have friends who they show up in some of these shows and you're thinking, oh man, like their career is really budding. And I'm not saying that it's not doing anything, but then you like find out they were paid like $200. They weren't willing to give them a per diem. Hollywood seems glamorous because we watch the red carpet shows, because we see the after parties with the celebrities. That's just not really how things are. And even actors who, you always see online, like the clickbait, what happened to so-and-so? It's like, you might have a great career for a decade or so, and then all of a sudden, you're not what they're looking for.
Well, and especially, I think that right now, there's just so little union work that if you're a union, you have a hard time getting cast. And if you're non-union, they can nickel and dime you so you don't get any money. It's really not, it's turning into a less sustainable career than it was back in the day when Larry was talking about making $1,500 to $5,000 per show. I was like, damn, I would love to make $5,000 for that. Because I see stuff in there like it's $1,000 minus your agency fee.
Yeah, that's the perception, man. The perception is we saw that commercial. Oh my goodness. Oh my God, you in that film and everything, and the Lifetime stuff. And it's like, yeah, I did that. Can I borrow some money?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Let's end with some advice. How about that? Here's my advice to people who are in music or production or actors. Do it because you love it.
Yeah, I mean, people chase the dragon for a reason, right? Because that dragon just is so good.
Joe's been chasing that high since second grade.
Yeah.
She was in the play.
Yeah, seriously.
It's true.
Also, you better fall in love, again, with the process of doing it. It's work. It's work. It's serious work, man. And the days, there are some dark days. I know I've had them. Some dark days, some dark weeks, for that matter.
For real. But yeah, if you enjoy like the blood, the sweat, the tears that go into the work, I think the fame and the praise and all of the good stuff will come.
Thank you once again to the multi-talented Julian Velard. You can check his music out at Julian Velard, that's VELARD.com. His event company is JulianVellardPresents.com. And his piano bar that he runs is sidgolds.com. SIDgolds.com. Check him out.
Yes, indeed. And also, we want to definitely thank Fressh Prep. That's Fresh with 2 S's, LLC. DeJuan Whitner, Joy Franklin, at Fresh Start Athletics on Instagram and Facebook. Once again, Fresh with 2 S's. And when you do that, when you reach out to them, ask about the meal prep, because that's where it's at, man. And you can contact them at 216-213-3846. Fresh Start Athletics.
An adventure I can't repeat, an episode I can't rerun. I'm half done. Oh, yes, it is.
We just went there. Now you can go to Instagram at the Going There Podcast, Facebook at Going There Podcast, or email us at goingtherepodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast is made possible by its hosts and Frame One Media in association with Lindsay Baker, Tyler Kubisti, Michael Madgar, Joe Calley, and Bobby Thomas.